now that we pretty much have our rigging done with the bones, we actually need to attach the bones to the mesh so that we can animate them. As you can see that I've already done that, so that's why it's in an animation position. But we're not going to be worrying about that just yet. So first thing what we want to do here is actually attach the bones to the mesh like I was just saying. And to do that is, let's just say we have this meatball meta ball here. As you can see, it's not part of the hierarchy of the armature because this has not been added to it. So in perspectives, you shouldn't have your cowboy or horse added to this armature just yet. You should just be using it as a mesh to place your bones until you're ready to link them together. So once that happens, you just grab the image and you just drag it over the image of the armature, and you'll want to set parent with automatic weights. I'm not going to do it because I don't want this object. But when you do so, all it takes is for you to click on a bone and then shift click on the body and go to weight paint mode. So as you can see, we have our weight paint showing for our upper right leg. If we want to switch between these things, there's a few different ways to. The way I prefer to do it would be clicking over here to this upside down triangle, and here's all your bones here. All of this should automatically be done for you with the automatic weight paints, but if for whatever reason that there's a weight that it didn't weight paint or you got an error, you're going to actually have to select each bone and paint them yourself, like I had to for some reason. It's the first time I've ever had to do it. Most of the times the automatic weight paints works perfectly, and all you have to do is go in and make minor adjustments to the paint. So technically, if this weight paint was going too much in the crotch and bothering it, I'd want to lower this radius here, and I'd want to switch to a subtract, and then I would subtract it out of the crotch so that when the leg moves backwards, it's not pulling the crotch backwards or the butt forwards and making it look weird when your movements are happening, right? So normally you'll look at that stuff once you have your animation. So that should already be done if you're lucky, else pause here, paint it, and then continue. We're just going to go back to our object mode, select our armature only, and go to pose mode, because now we want to select our animations. So right now I think we are selected on our idle, so we can just select a bone here. We're going to want to go to our dope sheet. In our dope sheet we have our action editor here. Make sure we have our action editor open in this tab, and then if you don't have any actions, which you shouldn't at this point, you're just going to click the add new action and then click on that action that it's giving you a name. It's like normally armature 00 or 1 or something like that, and you're going to rename it to walk like this. See how I just clicked on it and you can rename the name. I want to go back to idle because that's the first animation we're going to be working on. So I'm just going to show you basically what my animation looks like so that you guys could follow it, and I'll explain how you do it as well. So once you have that selected, you can now go back to your animation, and as you can see at 0.1, which I have accidentally misplaced this at 0.2, so I'm going to actually copy this, and I'm going to go back to 0.1, I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to click location rotation, and now I actually want to get rid of this one because it shouldn't be there. Alt-I to delete a keyframe. So now that's our first frame, but before we even would have that frame, if you look at our edit mode, our character's arms are out, so we want them in. So back into pose mode, before you actually set that first keyframe, drag your arms down, and to do that properly, just select one arm at a time, find the bone icon here in the tab, select it, and you're going to want to lock the location of this bone so that wherever this cursor is that I'm moving it's not going to misplace the arm. It's only going to rotate the arm perfectly. As you can see, if I turn it off here, you're about to see some funkiness that you really don't want. You don't want any of that, this to happen in game. So while you're setting up your animations, you'll just do it this way. Lock them so that you can do the rotations. You'll then drop the arms and place them like this. Double tap A to unselect and reselect all the armature, and then press I, location rotation, like I was just saying. Now skip over to frame 11. With this frame, all we're really doing is we're moving our character a little forward. But to do this properly, we're going to press 1 on our numpad, click right here where the center of these two bones are, the chest, and then we're going to click 3, and we're going to do the same right here. So 3 and 1 to make sure that we are as center as possible into there. So we got it damn well pretty centered, so that's perfect. Now we just want to right click our center, which is our chest. We want to right click our two arms. Those are the only two things we have selected right now. And we just want to drag it forward, but we got to unlock the arms first. So make sure the arms are unlocked so that when we drag forward, the shoulders pull with it. If the arms are locked, you'll see that the shoulders can be left behind, or one shoulder depending on which one you left locked. So because it's just that one shoulder I left locked, I'll unlock it and it'll now move freely, properly. So just lean it a tad forward, and then you will press A and then A again, like so, to select everything, and then I to insert location rotation. And now you have your center with your third one, which is actually the exact same as your first pose, so you could just Control C, go back to 21, Control V to paste that pose, and then just go ahead and I location rotation so that you have this pose that goes back here. And now you just want to drag at 31, you'll drag backwards a little bit, and then you will paste this same middle pose again for your 41 pose. So your 0.1 pose and your 41 pose, the two, the last and the beginning, are the same pose, so that this way it syncs properly. Now then, some small things we want to do here would be actually there is no small things. We generally have the idle animation done. You don't really have to do much. Again, the nicer you want things, the more time and the more little stuff you're going to move around. So instead of me just moving the center and the two arms with my animation, I might want to move my head a little bit, maybe even have my knees kind of like shake a little or something, or feet move, who knows, when I'm idling. So this way it looks a little fancy. So now we could just go back to our dope sheet, make sure we're still in the action editor, and we're going to go to our walk. You won't have it, so you can just go ahead and press this plus sign next to the F and the X, and then we're going to go back to our timeline. 3D view. Okay. I don't click this top when it's down here. We want to go to the timeline. My bad. I was wondering what I was doing wrong. It's because this was so low I was clicking on the wrong thing. So now we're back on the timeline. We can go back to 0.1 here. We're going to want to lock both our legs positions because we want them to only rotate where they are so that it doesn't look all funky, like I was mentioning before. So this basic position that it's already standing in, which matches the position that its idle is, we're just going to double tap A, insert that location, and perfect. So in a side view here, we are just going to kind of go straight to kicking our feet 1 foot forward and 1 foot slightly back. So in our next position, as you can see here, we have our left foot that is at the pointing at this red line, and our right heel is at this red line. And then basically we take our front pose back again, and we're good to go. With that front pose, then we can make a complete duplicate of this pose, at least as close as possible. As you can see, I didn't really do as close as possible. I could still drag this foot back more and this foot back more because it's just too far ahead. Maybe that's why the animation might not be completely syncing properly, because there's a couple more milliseconds in between this stride and the first stride here. I'm not sure what, but you could technically copy this, Control C, and then come over here and use pose, paste X flipped pose, but for whatever reason it moves the arms but not the legs in the flip. So like, as you can see, it did something really weird that wasn't supposed to happen. If the flip pose works for you, then perfect, use it, but for some whatever reason, not for me. So we don't want to use that. I just placed it manually myself, and then for the last pose, again, back to the center. Once we play this, it's just a simple walk. Basically now we can go ahead and rig our horse. So let's go ahead and show the horse here. As you can see, I don't have bones here yet, just that I could show you exactly what we need to do. So we need to go into our object mode, make sure that we have our armature selected. Oh, we got the horse selected, the body selected, armature selected. Armature only, then we want to go into edit mode. Now we want to place our cursor at the leg of the horse. And then we're going to press Shift A to create a bone. So now that bone's created, it's as simple as just grabbing this top bone here, going back into our positioning here, and we're just going to drop this bone here, bring it to this ankle area here, and then we're going to bring this one up to here-ish, and we're just going to simply E to extrude once again down to there and to the foot. Now just go ahead and place it. Do the same for the back. Place the cursor, Shift A to create your new bone, and yada yada. I'm just going to go ahead and fast forward this with a cut, so I'll be right back and it'll be done and we'll continue. Alright, I'm back and we now have our completed horse. I did not bother adding to the body of the horse, but you can add a body bone if you so wish to. That is up to you, not 100% needed. Basically, you're now going to want to drop your horse into the armature if you haven't already done so. You might not want to do the automatic weight paints, just because you're going to notice that there's going to be a bit of a funky animation behavior with the body somewhere in the bones, and for whatever reason I'm unable to figure out which bone is causing the irritation to the body. So painting your horse manually might be best for you, else you can just kind of unpaint it pretty easily. So I've already have this horse painted, so if we select the bone here in object mode, we go to edit mode. Oh wait, no, actually back to object mode, switch back on over to timeline here, select the bones, then the body, and then we want to go to weight paint mode. As you can see, everything has been done properly on its own. Let's go ahead and switch through these bones, horse bones. There we go, see? All of it has been automatically weight painted, better than my my manual painting, as you can see. There will be portions of the body that is going to be weirdly shaped, so most of the time it happens to be part of this armature, the main body armature, that happens to be messing with the horse. So a good way to figure out if it's your main body armature that's messing with the horse would be to get out of weight paint mode here, quick thing, go to object mode. We want to click on the armature, then we want to go to pose mode, and then we'll just press C, and we're going to paint, well, it's going to let us select all of these bones here. We could just right click, and now we could actually just move these bones. First we actually need to unlock the bones. Unlock that bone as well. C, try again. So now what? Okay, that bone, see the arm is locked here. This arm is locked. This leg is not locked. Alright, now let's try to paint it one more time here to select all the body. And now we could actually do this here and see what is pulling this. So this is all being pulled by the horse. So that means this annoying, all these areas that are painted are going to want to get unpainted, so you'll select all the bones to kind of to paint it yourself. Right now it's not too bad for tutorial purposes. I'm just kind of giving you a heads up on some of the things you might need to do. So basically let's just go ahead and start animating our horse. So let's go back to our dope sheet, create a new animation. We'll call it horse idle. And we're actually going to be moving our character. So with this we want to, like we just did, have our character fully selected, drag him up and start stretching his legs. It's going to position the body a bit into the horse, and boom, it looks like he's riding a horse for the most part. Again, I'm not the greatest animator, so sorry guys. Even if I was a decent animator, I don't think I would spend a lot of time animating this horse in a tutorial. So that's positioned good. Once that's done, we can actually start animating the horse. So get out of our dope sheet, go back to our timeline, and go ahead and select our bones here to our horse. Let's go back to our 0.1 here. We're then going to make adjustment to our horse head. We want to raise the head. So we select here, you just kind of go to the rotation, you rotate the head up, press A like this, and insert the location rotation. If you wanted the body to move a little bit as well, I would suggest that you would have switched the top part of his body a little bit, maybe with a little wobble with the horse's head thing, or maybe his head moves a little, or arms, and then you'll set the position. So this way it sets the position of everything you've set it to, and then you'll again go to the next position, which will take this first, which we have the head out. We're going to move the neck down now a little bit, and then we're going to double click A again so that we can insert the position, and then we want to raise the head back up from this down position. Then we're going to again double click A to make sure all our bones are selected. Click I, location rotation, because that's all we're doing is our location rotation for here. And then last but not least, we want to reset the head with our same 0.1 animation just by Control C and Control B. With that done, there is your idle for your horse. So if we just play this through here, we have this interesting idle. Not the greatest, but it is something for this tutorial. Back to our dope sheet and create a new animation, call it horse walk. Make sure that you're always pressing the F key to force save these, because if you don't have the F key saved, they'll put a 0 next to it, and when you save and reload the project, it ain't going to have your animations that you just worked on. Basically that's how you delete them, is you click on the animation, you untick the F and you press this X, and a 0 should pop up next to the name of the animation, and when you save and reload it won't be there, so that you could export again without any of those excess crappy animations that you don't want. So back to our horse walk here, timeline. We want our horse legs to start off moved. So we take our left back leg and our right front leg here, and we position them like they've been moved forward. And then in our next stride, we actually switch the back leg, the legs positions here. And then we'll go back to this position here for here. This is again only location rotation, guys, so when you're pressing I, location rotation is all you need. If you're going to be scaling, like stretching or shrinking the bones, then you want to use location rotation size, scale, location rotation scale, my bad. I've said it a few times, don't know why it slipped my mind. And again, just keep doing that and you'll have your full cycle for the walk. As you can see, there's a lot of like weird stuff happening with the legs. That's because of the paint. So there's something happening with this paint here. So you can see that one of the legs are like doing some funky stuff with the body. We could work on that by painting again later at some point. For now, we don't need to worry about that because this is again a tutorial. So we have our 4 animations. Our character sits on his horse. If we get rid of this, it'll disappear. We don't need to worry about these this armature here because what we're going to do here is we're going to set our character into his idle here, so he's standing in the horse. And now what we're going to do is just click save. So we want to save this, and then we want to export this. Export FBX, custom character.fbx. Alright, cool. Boom, export. We can then close this. So like our object horses scale, armature, deformation do not work as expected. Apply scale to fix. So whatever reason it thinks this thing is a little too small, but if anything it's a little big. I've never had any errors with that little warning that pops up. So let's just go ahead and close it and run into Unity now. So let's load up Unity quick things. Don't worry about that pop-up right there. That's just the Photon Blocks creator who sent me an update to test. He's going to be uploading really soon for you guys. He's going to do the review now and make the changes to everything. I'm pretty much just testing to make sure that it is bug-free for the release. I'll be doing some more of that right after this tutorial. So everything's just loading up, lighting and everything. As you can see, I already have a new player linked in. I've done a tutorial on how to make a player in my previous Unity YouTube tutorial series. This, I guess, is kind of attached to it as like an optional tutorial. But you can go to the first 3 tutorials of that series and it'll show you how to create a Mecanum character. I just threw together a player top-down controller character with basic Mecanum control. All you really need to do is, when you create this character, your art, delete the animator from the art and place the animator on the actual object here. You need an animator controller. Quickly creating an animated controller just by right-clicking, create animator controller. And this is what our basic animator controller looks like. We're using 2 blend trees for this particular build. A blend tree pretty much will play a particular animation based off of a parameter. So the parameters we have to use are floats. So if we wanted like a dog idle, we could have that at like float 3, or the horse idle is at float 2. So if we go to our first idle here, which is if we go to our first idle here, you see we're just sitting in the horse. And now if we zoom this up, you'll see that it's starting to push our animation, blending the 2 animations together until it fully goes straight to just the horse animation so that it looks smooth. That is happening perfectly. We go back to the base layer and we'll do exactly the same. Right-click create from blend tree for our walk and our horse walk. It's going to be using the same float parameter that we created, so it's called isMounted, and that's going to be used for pretty much detecting whether or not you're on a horse or anything like that. So you'll have attacks for on a horse and you'll have attacks for off a horse, and you'll be using isMounted to make sure that it's using the right animation in that particular blend tree. So you'll have 2 similar attacks for the blend tree, one on a horse and one not on a horse. I know I said that twice, but blend trees are kind of confusing to some people, and this is the best way to kind of explain. Basically, the motion 0 and 1 it auto sets when you press the plus and add the 2 in there. If you have 3 or more, you end up having to kind of mess with it to see what's up. Try not to do any 0, like half digits. Always kind of use a solid digit like 1, 2, 3, 4, you know what I mean? This might have you use like 0.5, 1, So that means you just have to make sure that you're setting to the exact number that these motions are so that you can see the motion happening properly. With that done, you can just again drop it onto here along with the avatar, which is part of this custom character right here. You see the custom character avatar, which is in the custom character. Everything else is your standard build. I'm sure that anyone watching this would have seen most of my other tutorials, or maybe Itmar's and stuff, so you know what you're saying. That's the only difference. Is pretty much now all I want to do is create a quick skill, and it's going to be called horse mount. I'm going to add a few seconds to the execution time because we don't want to be able to mount and unmount too quickly, because you might cause issues with it not being able to change the float or something quick enough before you switch. So you can end up like having to press like it a few times before it takes you off the horse if you do that. So the execution time and cooldown time definitely helps prevent that from happening. Just a couple seconds is all that's needed. 2 seconds and maybe 2 seconds. Not too bad at all. You will definitely force stop. You don't want to queue. You want the target method at self. And in the event, we want on skill activate, and we're just doing an if and else statement. We're checking if get parameter float is mounted from skill owner, which is a temporary variable. So if we go to we have our float parameter, we have our temporary variables with the gray T's here. We want a temporary game object, and that is a float that it is countering here. If it is equal to 0, then we want to set it to 1. So get set parameter is mounted to 1, skill owner, and then we're going to enable horse. So in our objects here, find child horse and find child art. So if you look at our character here, so this is the skill owner because I'm the one casting the skill. Here is art, and here is horse. So we're looking for horse in art. That's child to art. That's child to skill owner. I know it's weird, it kind of goes through backwards, but when it runs through it, it's running through it forwards. And then of course your else statement is pretty much, if it's not equal to 0, then we want to set it to 0 and disable this art. So let's go ahead and test it out, guys. Go ahead to our player here, make sure that we add the skill to him, which I have already done so, and run the game. One quick warning, like I've mentioned, this is not the best way to do your, what do you call it, it's not the greatest way to do your mounting system, but it is a pretty awesome way to do it. At least I find. I also do my armor this way, so that this way all my armor that would all be on my character are perfectly animated. So let's just go ahead and show you what it looks like, shall we? I don't know what that little warning is. I'm going to look at that later, but that warning doesn't seem to be affecting us in any case. It's probably something that I have extra that you might not have. If you have that warning, let me know. It seems to think that there's missing forward, left, right, jump, and grounded. So maybe one of my animators is missing some of that. Who knows? Right now it's not a big worry. I'm just trying to show you the horse. So we're gonna add our horse skill to our first slot, and when we click on it, you can see that it blended us in here perfectly. We got our horse animating, and we can see that it starts walking right away. If we click it again, boom, it goes right back into our animation. It starts walking very perfectly. We try again, switch to our horse. So again, because the execution time is 2 seconds long, your character won't move for a few seconds, so you could use the cooldown instead of the execution time if you would prefer, so that this way after you cast a skill you will be able to move right away, but you won't be able to cast the same skill again to to glitch anything with the horses enabling or disabling. So yeah, I hope you guys liked the tutorial. Sorry for rambling on so long. Let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching. Actually, one more quick thing I should probably mention that some people have a habit of forgetting here. In our base layer, with these transitions, which I totally forgot to tell you to put in, the transition is just a transition based on speed greater than 0.1 and then less than. But there is this has exit time. You want to definitely untick has exit time when it comes to walking, running, and your idle. Because you don't want the animation idle to finish and then start walking. You want it to start walking right away, no matter where in the animation you are. So get rid of that, and it'll just blend you right into the new animation immediately, the way you were seeing it. There you go. I've rambled enough and on, guys. So take care and